County School District and the construction department. Like I said, I've worked with everybody here, at one time or another. I'm glad y'all could come out. I'm not so glad I'm here. I'm here to, fill in. Hey. So I'm here to fill in for Scotty and, go through the PowerPoint, tell you where we are, whenever we get to that. But I guess it starts out as your show.
All right, we'll go through the formalities here real quickly, and it's 4:30 on the dot. I know you was the only one I saw in Scott being installations. I'm well aware that all of our board members are in Tallahassee right now, doing that lobbying exercise that they do every year. So we will not have a board member with us tonight. With that, it looks like we have a pretty full group, so we might as well go ahead and get started. Real quickly, call to order. Thank you all for coming. I think Steve beat me to that just a little bit, and glad to be here and help out any way we can. And with that, has anyone seen the January 5th minutes been distributed? Yeah. I wasn't unfortunately able to make it on January 5th, so I would need other people to recommend them be approved, or I see a hand raised by Mr. Hume here. So we have a motion for approval of the January minutes. Do I see a second?
I'll second it.
You don't think so?
I'm gonna be, team player.
All right, seconded by Bob Taylor. Thank you very much, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the January minutes have been approved as written. And thank you, Mr. Wolf and Mr. Oliver for sneaking in just after the bell. With that, I do not see any members of the public here for a public comment today, unless Frederick is technically
Staff.
Not anymore.
not anymore.
I'm not a member of the public anymore.
Well, you got.
Not in here, at least.
All right, go to the order. Anything, we're done. So real briefly, we did not have a specific topic lined up for this particular meeting. We wanted to do a little bit of a recap on the last two meetings, the solar recommendations, and anything we're gonna move forward to the board and making a recommendation for. And I apologize for this. I do wanna back up just one here on the meeting minutes in January. Since I was not at that meeting, I used those minutes to create a public comment, and then during the quarterly report to the board, Mr. Morgan pointed out that there was some additional information that the provides the recommended study on the school for the solar that the committee unanimously approved. In the actual minutes, it did not mention that it was going to be a complimentary or a free study. I think that was a distinction that Ms. Morgan pointed out in the board meeting that was not reflected in the minutes. So we may want to try to add a note to that, because when the committee comes forward and says, we recommend this company do the study, and that's kind of it. It was kind of like, okay, all right, we can recommend that, but there's also the footnote that it was on their dime, or a free study, or a free recommendation. So I would like to at least footnote that from the last minutes, just to be clear, we're not recommending them spend a bunch of money on a study.
What you're saying is true.
Yeah, it's true.
Do we need to vote on that or just?
Can we, I know we kind of just approved the minutes and this hit me about 30 seconds too late. Can we amend that real briefly, just to kind of put at the company's cost somewhere in those minutes so that we understand it to be a free survey?
Yes. Or even at no cost to the school district.
At no cost to the school district, correct. That's probably the better verbiage. Thank you, Dana. With that, we will get into Mr. Hanna's construction update, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with a summary of what we've gone through and also what we want to do for the next 3 months or 4 months or so.
Cool. So I'm in the construction department, and hammers are swinging and things are happening, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I have to stand back here to see these slides, so.
You're not in slideshow mode, you know that.
I'm not?
All right.
Okay, capital project updates. Now, some of these projects are mine, some of them are not. Most of them I know something about. There's one that's a little iffy. I had to ask questions, but if you'll take it away for
I'm
me.
sure the audience can help you. Are we supposed to, Steve, are we supposed to score you?
I'm sorry.
Are we
what?
supposed to score you as you go through your presentation?
You can if you want, yeah. Well, I can't.
Does he get
I can't
points
read
for
it
going?
though.
We're gonna wait till the question and answer period.
Yeah. Oh, that, Hvacs, aren't they? Yeah.
I got my engineering manual.
I think he was already, technically, he was already disqualified for lack of references.
Okay.
How do you square a building?
How do I square it? There you go. Okay, so this is the Fort Myers High, HVAC renovation. As you can see by the check marks, the construction has actually started and we actually have a substantial completion date. So that means that we've gone through all the hurdles and steps, following the check marks. Ms. Tina Silcox is the project manager. I'm not sure who the contractor is on this one.
Okay.
It's OAK, I was gonna guess them, but, so,
Oh, okay. Again.
the construction has actually started, going by the check marks.
I'm like, who's vegan?
Vegan, yeah. Same thing at Orangewood Elementary, Tina's also, she does most of our HVAC stuff. She's been doing it for quite a while, so, again, the general contractor has begun his paperwork. The construction has not started, so that's telling me that it's probably out for bid somewhere in that setting. They don't have their notice to proceed yet, so that's why it says to be determined for construction start date, and then the same thing with the substantial. So we're to that point, we're finishing the drawings and getting them out to bid. Riverdale High School, again, I know that they're working on the plans, they're in the process of, that's not y'all, okay, that's probably BSSW.
2025.
So,
It's BSSW.
We spent
BSSW.
that much time.
Yeah,
2025.
well, that's everything. So anyway, BSSW is doing the design work, I know they're having meetings on it. Again, everybody is, building official, architect, and the general contractor all have their start dates and their contracts for the beginning portion. I think most of y'all know how our contracts work. Is anybody that doesn't know how our contracts work? I'll explain them real simple. Okay, no, so this is how it works, so everybody knows. So what we do is, from lessons learned, is we hire our architects, and whether it's an RFQ or however it comes to be, we get our architects, and of course they bring in the engineers and all those people along with them. And the RFQ brings in the contractor, and RFQ also brings in a building official. And so as we design something like this, the Riverdale campus, we have meetings with all of the staff, all of the educational side. What are your needs? What do you need? What's the principal see? Is this a good way to do this hallway? No, it's blind spots, safety, security. We bring in all of those players into this to help the architect design it, and we have our contractor who tells us, well, it'd be better if you did block instead of tilt-up, cost effectiveness, or those kinds of things. And then our building official is along with us at the same time, so he can review hopefully 30, 60, 90% drawings. So he's playing along with us, and everybody gets a small stipend in the very beginning to make sure that by the time we get our 90% drawings, they're ready to go. There's not really any plan review supposed to be for our building official. He's already looked them at 30, he's proofed them at 60, he steered the boat to get us to 90, and here we are at 90 pretty much. Rubber stamp, there you go guys, go build. So that's kind of how all of our contracts work. And what that does is at 30, 60, and 90, that gives a chance for our contractor and our architect to say, hey, this is a $30 million project. And a contractor might say, well, no, it's more like 45. And then at 60, everybody's kind of coming closer together. So everybody gets a feel for it. You know, the architect might say, well, no, you're right, it's more like 37. And the contractor might say, well, yeah, you're kind of right, I'm at 49. And so that way, when we do get a final GMP, both of the roads have come together and we're pretty accurate on our estimates and board reporting as we go through the whole process. So that's kind of a nutshell how we do all of our projects, all of our bigger projects. And so, like I said here, the general contractor, the building official, and the architect are all on the design team and they're designing away right now. VPA lamps, I don't know much about this one.
I can talk a little bit about this one. So this is, Major Parks Academy of Arts, but I don't know what you're talking about. Major Parks Academy of the Arts, we're doing a little campus, master plan, looking to probably even, combine in the old Lambs campus, maybe even put a, what do they call that in the middle?
Yeah, I think that's not this. I think this is the actual lamps renovation.
Just kidding.
I think,
Not the PPA
yeah,
part?
that's not out yet. That's coming.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
All right, well-
Yeah, I think it's all together.
Yeah, because,
It's all together.
okay, so this is my GMP.
Yeah,
So that's why I'm thinking this is the one I'm referring to.
that's.
So you're correct, that one's coming up.
Mhm.
So, but this one, doesn't have the check mark here, because when we put the information down for this one, was like the day before I had my notice to proceeds and all my documents in place. But yes, this one now should be checked, construction has started, demolition began on 1/17, that's when we actually physically started. That's when Dana told me we had to chop down trees. And that's our total dollar amount for this project. The Veterans Park remodel project is the old Lambs, Lehigh Acres Middle School. And we are challenged with the task of making that a new school out of an old building. And you will be amazed at how fast this job has to be done before school opens. So imagine taking a building half this size and gut it. Take everything out, gut it. And now you have till July 30th to put it all back together, so the students can walk in August. So there's a lot of wood to chop there. It's a very fast-paced construction timeline, and everything's going really good. And I don't know if it's possible, but Gulf Point. Yeah, so I
Have you
mean,
ever had any supply issues on lead items?
well, what we had to do is normally we do DMPs. Y'all know a lot of y'all do. That's direct material purchase. So we buy the material to save the taxes. But because this is so fast paced, our process of doing a DMP is our contractor gives us the GMP, and let's pretend you're I know you are, but let's pretend you're an air conditioning guy. So my contractor will say, okay, he got his contract on the 12th, okay? So he would go to you, the AC guy, when he gets his contract on the 12th, he would now give you your contract, hopefully on the 13th or 14th, how most construction guys work. And then he would say to you, okay, I need a bill of material, so we can turn that into the district. So hopefully I would get that bill of material around the 15th or 16th, and it gets vetted. Then it's gotta go through a whole process, bunch of people in procurement, everybody looking at it. And so hopefully around the 30th, it's actually becoming a PO to get sent to whoever, carrier, train, whoever that vendor is. Well, we don't have time for that because we just don't have the time. We gotta get our components and get our things and get it done. So we didn't do a DMP on this project. We just went right straight out and we told all the people, the players in the game, acoustical guy, buy the tile. Flooring guy, here's the flooring, buy it. So we shortened our time frame by a big chunk because we had to, because the time frame is so short, we didn't have time to do all this paperwork back and forth. You guys have had contracts with us. You know how long it takes to get a contract back and forth. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying this is just how it works. and we didn't have time to do that. We had to give this guy a contract and go. So we gave him the colors of the floor, and specs for the floor, and said, order it. And so far, we haven't had any hiccups or anybody say anything about material. Yes, knocked on wood.
There was a
But-
lot of talking with vendors to answer your question during the design process. There was a lot of back and forth with the different vendors to make sure that they have what we're specifying, and if they didn't go to a matching spec.
Yeah, we're seeing it primarily in like HVAC, like, you know, the sales rep will tell you 20 weeks all day long, and then it turns into 32 and.
But unfortunately for this project, there's no HVAC in it, other than some grills. Yeah, this is pretty much a flooring, a ceiling, new painting and coverings of walls, some new door hardware, total new bathroom layouts. But it's not a heavy mechanical, there's not new electric panels, no new generators yet.
Yeah.
None of that kind of stuff, so there's not a lot of big lead items on this, just flooring, you know, and
Yeah, that's
ceiling
what we were
tile.
told, just flooring.
Just flooring,
Yeah.
so anyway, that's where we are with that one, and it's coming along nicely. G Weaver Hips was gonna be a pre-K edition, and it started out as it's gonna be a pre-K edition for, I forget, what was it, 12th class, or, I forget, 20 classrooms. Well, when we did the 20 classrooms, then it became, okay, well, we gotta have a clinic space in the other area, and we don't have room to feed them, so we gotta make the kitchen a little bigger and a cooler freezer bigger. And so the things kind of snowballed, and this is a grant funding that is paying for most of this, or originally was. I don't know if it will be or not, I don't know. But, so this job had to get put on hold due to the fact that, remember I told you a little story about how the architect and the building official and the builder, and we all go down the road together coming up with numbers? Well, started out at a good number, but when the people that are using the facility, the principals and everybody told us what else they needed, the road wasn't coming together, and the dollars were further out than what they had anticipated. So with that being said, contracts were based on, and I don't remember the exact amount, I'm gonna say $8 million. Contracts were based on $8 million. Well, it looks like it's gonna be more like 10 or 12, okay? So with that being said, in your contract, and you'll know this, in your contract, it says you're gonna build this thing, it's gonna be roughly $8 million, and this is your fee, and if it comes in over $8 million, you're responsible for the extra money, unless you notify me. But we got notified. So that means we had to put the brakes on, we had to go back to the board to validate and show we needed more money, or we are going to need more money. So now that is going to the board, phase one, it's going to the board to have that increase approved. As soon as that increase is approved, then we go back and start drawing and sketching and talking and doing our thing again. So that's why this one is kind of on hold.
How much did it go over percentage wise, like roughly?
I think it's from like 8, well, first they said it's gotta be a shelter. Oh my God, right?
Wait, with a 30-year-old Kmart, how do you do that?
Well, the addition.
Oh.
Alright, so it counts as has to be a shelter. So that kind of went from 8 to like 16. And then we got the ruling that it doesn't have to be a shelter after some discussion back and forth with the county. Powers to be, above my pay grade, and those discussions, they said, okay, well, it doesn't have to be a discussion. But that still didn't negate the fact that we needed these clinics and bathrooms and these other things, serving areas, these things that weren't in the original talking points. So that brought it from that 16 back to somewhere down around 10. And I think our original number was 8. So that's what that increase is that added in there. And when that's board approved, we'll go back, finish the design. Fort Myers Technical College, I read about this one. Fort Myers Technical College, right now, all the players are checked in. This is gonna be roughly a $12 million remodel of the Fort Myers Technical College. It's, what you're doing is you're taking the small engine repair and you're moving it over here to make room for the welding class to expand. It's a shell game with all the different classrooms. to make them all bigger and better and fit the needs that they have now, right? And so, everybody, all players engaged here, Ryan's one of them, are all signed up. They've given us our 100% documents. It went out to bid on January, I think 24th. I think it was the 24th. I did the bid opening on a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, the bid opening was a couple weeks ago.
Was the
so they got
24th?
Out to bid on it.
Yeah, no, you're right. The bid opening, I think, was the 24th, because I did it on a Zoom meeting, the opening. So it's been out to bid. I don't have my total GMP yet, but that part's coming next. Waiting GMP and submission. Lee County Public Education Center re-roof, that's above our heads. And I'm gonna bring this up because somebody had mentioned about material. So when we did this started, I wanna say in November, is when they started dropping the trailers and we did our DMP and ordered all the material. Okay, it's a DMP from Manville, we ordered all the material. First thing we had hard time getting are the roof plates. They're the little plate, it's about that big, and you run a screw through this plate. This plate holds down the insulation and everything there. It took forever to get the roof plates. We waited and delayed us and delayed us and delayed us. Now they're working through it. I wanna say they're probably 40%, about 40%. This wing is done. I think the front part's done. The superintendent's office and all that stuff back there is done. They'll be moving to that side of the campus next. You can see the cranes out there. But what I've learned now is screws. Okay, so we are having a hard time getting the rest of our screws. We DMP'd them, we paid for them in advance, they shipped out half of them. And now they're saying, we can't get you the screws. So we're kind of looking for an alternative, longer or whatever screw to alleviate our issue. And so, yeah, things are hard to get out there. So that's right, that one's going good.
Steve, question for you. So when that happens, when you do a DMP, so you've already paid for all these screws
I paid.
up front?
Yep.
So now you've got to look for an alternate screw. I'm assuming you're going back to the same company.
Yep.
So do they pick up?
Yep.
Do they pick up any difference or?
Well, it's not on here, but it should say GMP. I have a GMP. So my contractor gave me a GMP for $1 to supply this pin, right? And if you can only supply half the pin, and the cap's gonna cost $20, you gotta buy me a $20 cap to fit my 50-cent pin. I have a GMP with this man, and he has to supply it no matter what. He's got a contract with me to do it.
That's notified.
What I'm saying is, yeah, we have a contract.
Okay, I was just curious how.
Right, and here's the other
That's the
thing.
first time I've heard that's happened.
Here's the other thing. If the supplier of the screws or the pin says, okay, well, I can get them, but I can't get them that cheap anymore. I've already cut a PO.
Right.
You have a PO, it's not my fault you sent me only half the order. You agreed to send me a pin, not half a pin, for X amount of money, and my PO's there waiting for you in good faith. So that's an argument and discussion to have with that vendor at that time. I haven't had to have that yet. It probably will be coming, but I don't have that problem at this point.
I mean, have you come across that at bids where, all the bidders will just notify the prices that, hey, we're only gonna hold this price for 30 days?
Yeah, last time I got it.
And nothing is happening in 30 days. By the time they get the GMP put together, get board action on the approval, I mean, it's guaranteed at least 3 months before anything happens.
And you're exactly correct, except I will say that for the Lehigh Middle School / Veterans Park remodel, we turned that around fast. John did the bidding while we were on our little Christmas break. And when he came back from Christmas break on, it was, I don't know, the 6th, 3rd, whatever, by the 6th, he had the GMP in our hand, and we went to the board for good cause and turned right around on the 11th at the board, had it signed on, John's contract signed on the 12th. So all of his subs are held to that. You're right, a lot of times it just says 30 days. But we turned this around so quick that they didn't have a 30-day chance to think about
But what happens,
I mean, I've had bids come in like, that's at 7 days.
Yeah,
Well, good luck getting board action on that. I mean, you can't even add up the numbers in 7 days.
yeah, I haven't never had that, so.
Well, yeah, on the GC side, I mean, we were just talking, Frank and I were just talking earlier, I mean, this is time for some innovative thought when we're going through these and building these GMPs. Some of the things that we're doing right now on some of these suppliers is actually going through and saying, in our RFP, when it goes out, we say, we don't want, we try to project out and say, I want a price for this thing happening, going under contract, you can purchase this 6 months down the road, not 30 days or 40. So we have them actually write that in there right now to try to project that sometimes and then actually going back to some of these vendors, because you're right, I mean, in GMP, it's really it's our bag.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of times where we gotta go back and we might be splitting, going to a different vendor if we have to. And it's a lot of work. It's been tough lately.
I haven't had to have these conversations with anybody at this point. I know how my boss, Scott is just how I just said, I've got a GMP. You know, I can't help it if Crowder's got to eat $17,000 for screws. It's not my fault. You know, I can't help that. But I haven't had to have those conversations yet. J and M Elementary, okay, so 100% drawings are out for MM addition, it's a 2-story, 12 classroom addition. 3 classrooms are science rooms, full-blown science labs on there, so it's out to bid. And the other part is the J shell, again, because of lead times, we wanted to try to get the frame and the metal for the framing of it secured. So we had our architects put together a shell package, which is the shell, the exterior. And so that is out for bid right now. Transportation needs. Now, I don't know much about this other than I know that they had a bunch of old crappy portables out there, and that's what the drivers had to use as their lounges and stuff. And the bathroom was a beat up old bathroom portable. And so, to me, when I read this, I look at it, and I'm guessing that the architect, the building official, and general contractor are all on board. And from the picture, it looks like they threw some fill dirt on there. They have a substantial completion date, so this is probably kind of like my other one. The construction started, should have been checked, but it was probably done before, the slide was probably done before it actually got started, is why it wasn't checked.
It's a pre-engineered metal building, so they go up pretty quick, as long as the building's ordered and coming on time, everything else should be pretty simple.
So there's a couple of these projects, the Villas Elementary sewer line renovation, you know, you've got some older schools out there that the sewers are bad, and what we're doing is going through and they're cammering them and they're replacing. And I don't know if they're doing this or not, but I remember at Cypress Lake, they did a deal where they had this thing that was put in the sewer pipe, and it's an injectable. It lines it, yeah, so I don't know if that's what they're doing here, or if it's just a complete replacement. But again, it looks like they just have an architect and the building official signed up. I don't see where the general contractor has been signed into this. It might just be a plumbing vendor. They may have gone a different route. Fort Myers High, the same thing, it's a repipe for the old gym. And it's not gonna have board approval. They've got a building official signed on, and I don't see an architect in there or a general contractor. So my guess on this is they probably reached out to a plumber, and they probably are gonna do that lining, which I wouldn't, there's no need to hire a architect to draw nothing really, you know, so we're trying to save dollars by not including those people in there. Success Academy, repipe, it's the same kind of thing. Matt's doing, like I said, 3 or 4 of these. Again, this time they have the architect in there, so this one might be a little more substantial. The Success Academy, I don't know if you know where that is, that's over by the old Votech area. It's another real old building, so it's the same thing, it's a repipe.
I mean, architect MEP is that slash, so you might have just hired an MEP firm to help out with some design.
Cypress, it's a repipe, and I've got an architect and a building official on this one. I know that they've done some of this work there in the past, remember when the bill was here, I remember when the bill did a couple buildings already, so this must be like going back and having to do the other half of the campus is what I would say.
Looks like Matt's gonna be your guru on.
He's gonna be our poop man.
Yeah.
Tina will do HVAC.
You get that on the same thing?
Yeah, Matt is fine. Everybody's getting good.
This is already done. So what we did at Lehigh Acres Middle School, because it's a very short window of that construction remodel that I'm doing, there were some old portables out back that had been neglected for years, and they were god-awful, easiest way of putting it, they were god-awful. And so, before we could even put the students in there, we went through, and it was probably about a $500,000 renovation. I wanna say there's 20-something portables. I don't remember the exact number, but there's a lot. And they went in and they re-shimmed and re-leveled everything, re-leveled the ramps and stairs, took all the ceilings down, put in all new ceilings, new lighting, and new carpet, painted all the walls, fixed all the holes. These portables, when we get done and my other project there opens up this next year, these portables will be transported out for the, I believe, Franklin Park renovation. So just because we remodeled them, you know, we're not wasting money there. These are gonna get taken down and they're gonna get reused. These portables were built back in like 96, 97, most of them. I think there are two that are rentals, but most of them are very old. And over the years, they just seem a lot of use. Structural surveys, okay, so we've got a lot of old buildings. You can see the Beach School, Edison Park, Dunbar Community, Tice, Alva. And what they've done is, I think this was kind of triggered by the Bonita Elementary one, is they went out to check the structural integrity of all these schools. I believe Art Castellanos is the one they hired as an architect. And I know that, I think they actually, well, I don't see Bonita up there. I would have thought Bonita would have been on there too, because I believe they're starting on Bonita. They've got a general contractor and he's actually started. We hired a general contractor to go along with them because when you go to a wall, yeah, the wall looks good, but I can't tell you how that beam is inside there unless I open that wall. So we got a GC to cut open the wall so our guy can look up there, take pictures, whatever he's gotta do, and then our GC will go back and feather and paint, patch and putty.
Bonita was a while ago, so it may have just timed out. I mean,
Yeah,
it seemed kind of recent. It may have just been.
yeah, I think Bonita triggered those.
This is like the first one, and then this is all.
Sunshine Elementary freezer cooler, there's a lot of these, I used to do a lot of these freezer coolers and kitchens and stuff, we used to do them all the time. And so, you know, with the growth of all the students that we've got, and with the new feedings that we do, we not only just feed lunch, we feed breakfast now too. And the problem is, when you got a school full of students, and our freezer coolers were just big enough for the lunch crowd, now we do breakfast, they're not big enough. So this is a freezer cooler expansion. I think there's three of these in there. And most of the times what we do is, I've already expanded this freezer cooler one time. So I know what they're gonna do. They're gonna take what's left of the freezer that's inside and the cooler and make it one big cooler. And the freezer's partially outside. So they'll expand the footprint of that freezer outside to make everything larger so they can keep enough food to go around for everybody.
You haven't had, it's one of those, long lead items I've been hit with is the cooler panels. You know, the foam that goes in them is kind of short supply too. That's just something to keep an eye on. That's one of those things that, okay, sure, no problem. You wait 11 months. You know.
Yeah, that bus comes whether I got a freezer full of food or not.
Right.
Yeah. Tober's done some of these freezer coolers too.
Yeah, and I got a project we changed manufacturers 3 times, you know.
Orangewood Elementary's the same thing, you know, we don't have our general contractor hasn't begun yet. These are done a little different. So these smaller projects, these freezer coolers and stuff, I'm gonna say they average maybe 350, 400,000, might be a little smaller, just depends. And so we don't do them like the big boy projects. Remember I told you, we get an architect, we get a building official, we get a contractor? We don't do those like that. These are done off continuing contracts. It's a rotation. Some of you are on a continuing contract. And they go down in order and they said, okay, I got a freezer cooler, it'll be about 200,000, and next guy on the list, John Tobler, you're it, so you get it. And so what we do is, we hire the architect, and we hire the building officials, so we can get our plan stamped, but my general contractor doesn't get anything until he gets out there and gets that GMP. So that's why you're seeing that the general contractor hasn't begun yet, is because even if the plans are done, we're waiting on a GMP. And these will be done over the summer break. So again, they're very short window project, and it's freezer cooler, well, I have a panel. Again, Skyline, same thing, it's freezer cooler, just exactly what I just said. Fogger, another freezer cooler, I've already replaced that one once before. Orange Marsh Middle, this will be an outside one, so what they'll do is they'll take the internal cooler, they'll expand it and take the freezer and make it one big cooler, then they'll pop a hole out the wall and they'll put a freezer box freestanding outside. This is something we do all the time every year. Kitchen, Fort Myers kitchen repipe renovation. We did a kitchen remodel at Fort Myers Middle 2 years ago.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we did the serving lines.
Yeah, that's what
And when we did, we tore down the ceiling and we noticed that there's a lot of piping up above. And the plumbers told us ahead of time, or told us after we got involved, our maintenance staff, that the plumbing is crappy. So that's how this one came to be. So this is gonna be a repipe. It's probably the sewer pipe, but also I know the overhead water lines, because they were leaking. We had a couple that were leaking when they were there. Okay, this is the one that's called a wraparound. I had to ask what this was, because I had no clue what a wraparound meant. So what I've learned is, at Fort Myers Middle School, I went to Fort Myers Middle. Anybody else go to Fort Myers Middle? No? Hey, Toby, come on, man, I thought you went. So Fort Myers Middle, I went there as a kid, and when you're at the cafeteria kitchen, to the left was a newer building that was built that I went and spent I spent one tour of duty in there. It was a drafting class. It was also a class called pre-flight, got to build model airplanes, so it was a cool class. Next to that was the old shop, wood shop, metal shop. From what I'm understanding is United Way, they're remodeling that area and giving United Way some office space. District's big with United Way on things. So they're remodeling that area, giving them some office area. Evidently, we don't do shop anymore, or those, for whatever reason, those areas aren't being utilized. So United Way is gonna take care of that area. And then there's also an area where there used to be some handball courts. And the handball courts are gonna get converted into some small storage areas for United Way. A lot of stuff gets donated to them, different things that they, pass out throughout the year. So we're gonna enclose that for United Way for storage. And then in the front, the admin area, if you ever been in, you walk in the admin area, you got this nice big open space. But if you're a parent and you went in there and you had to go to the bathroom, there's no bathrooms there. Only bathroom is the staff bathroom way in the back. You have to go behind the counter, down and around past the clinic and all kinds of stuff. So they're gonna cut an area out and make a public restroom. So that's kind of why they call it a wraparound, because it's wrapping around the whole campus, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. And so right now, it's kind of just a dream. They haven't gotten anybody signed up for it yet that I can see. They may have reached out to one of you guys, I don't know. But at this point, there's nobody currently assigned or checked off on it. Gun range. This is, Rob's doing this. I know he's had several meetings out there. Evidently, he's got an art. I think y'all are doing it, right? So they're doing a new gun range and a driving track. You got a building official that signed up on it. I don't know who the general contractor is or if they've done one. It'll be a continuing contract for this one. It's not the big RFQ thing.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure.
Why does the school district have a gun range?
Because students need to be shot.
We run a public service academy, so they train,
The police.
police officer.
Yeah,
Oh.
they got a whole armory full of weapons.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is,
It's a technical college
Yeah,
more than anything.
exactly, it's for, the technical, they used to be at the technical college in building 7, I think it is. And then they moved to the old
Michigan Elementary.
Michigan Elementary, but there was no room for a driving range. And they have a gun range, they go to the sheriff for the gun range, but they stock the guns in the old like freezer cooler area because it's lockable and safe. And so what this is doing is back at Fort Myers Tech area, I believe, or they're not sure exactly where, but it's gonna be an actual shooting range and a skid track.
And you're doing that, who is gonna utilize this facility?
It'll be the, police explorer, or whatever you call it.
Public Service Academy.
Yeah, public service academy.
They serve like 6 counties, like all the collier sheriffs train up there, Charlotte comes down,
Why are
Blaze,
they
Henry.
paying for it?
It's like the only one.
Why are you
that's
guys
on
paying
the
for it?
Well, I mean, we collect fees from when they attend.
Oh, so that's how you pay for it?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
We do collect revenue from
Okay.
that. It's not I guess it's not a K through 12, it's a,
It's a double,
It's a revenue generating facility.
yeah, we pay by the bullet.
This is also, isn't that also scheduled to be essentially obsolete from day one? I mean, you're in the process of looking for a new location to actually build a new public service academy.
Yeah, but, you kinda gotta design and do things for the now, because it's nice to forecast and look way out into the future, but a lot of times those dreams don't come true, or they can't come true.
this is at the academy right now, this is where they're doing the gun range at?
This is just the master planning.
Just the master plan.
It costs them a lot of money to use the sheriff shooting range, and there's not a driving range. So they're exploring different options of what it can happen in 5 years or 10 years. So, okay, what if they do this? What if they do something else? So this is not a real project.
So it's more
just
master
a-
planning and,
Yeah, it's just to see, is it possible? Could it be? Could we have this eventually?
How much land do we need?
How much land we need?
Yeah.
How big, can we do it 50 yards or 25 or what is possible? That's it.
one more right there.
Franklin Park Elementary new construction. Okay, so they're gonna tear down the old Franklin Park, remember the portables I told you about? Those portables are gonna get shifted over. I think they're gonna put them across the street from James Stevens, is that correct? If you,
I think this is total construction, they had a meeting on this today, didn't they?
yeah, and so for those who don't know,
Yeah.
the James Stevens Academy building that's there, when we built, how old is that? 7 years, 10 years old?
James Stevens?
Yeah.
That's from the early 80s.
It's been that long?
Middle school, yeah.
You're talking about pre-K, the pre-K.
You know, the pre-K center.
So anyway, the James Stevens School that's been there, we originally set it up for it to be, excuse me, I believe it was supposed to be a middle school, and across the street was the elementary. And so we had actually had the underground plumbing put in. We were working on getting the feeders, matter of fact, that's where the playground is. And so suddenly, numbers dropped out and things happened, so that school went away. But what's out there should still be some of the underground plumbing for sewer. There should still be, electrical service and hardening of the ground. So that's a perfect place.
The PE pavilion was actually built, it was too late to start.
Yep, the PE pavilion's already there. So that's where those portables from my project will go to service Franklin Park when they tear it down.
Yeah, that was 2008. It was gonna be the new Michigan Elementary School when the old Michigan Elementary was becoming the Public Service Academy. And then they killed the Michigan Elementary School and turned James Stevens into a K-8.
Yep.
And that being basically a big soccer field with plumbing.
Yeah.
It'd be great if I
That's an energy way to
Hey,
describe
cut that
it.
rubber off check pipes.
So this long list here are single point entries. And what we were tasked, our department doing, was going out to all the schools and coming up with single point entry for every school. And so when you think single point entry, but originally we did single point entry, it was okay to be able to go up to a door with a ring doorbell, and you push the bell, and the person inside would say, "Can I see your ID?" And they flash their driver's license, and you get to go in. Well, now I'm at the counter, and I got Miss Jane sitting over here. She says, "Can I help you?" And back there is where the principal and all the other people are working, and all the other ways to get through the campus. So they used to say that this counter, did it. That's good enough. Well, it's not anymore, because let's just face it, if you buzz me in and you're the secretary and I'm pissed off at Mr. Principal, it doesn't take but a minute and I'm in your office, right? So now the thought of single point entry is we need to block off these doors. If there's not a door there, we need a door. And we need to have it so that it's convenient for staff to get through. The person might be busy working here and principal's gotta get back, I can't get back there, there's a stupid door here and I left my keys at the desk. Well, he's got a card swipe, he can swipe his card and access it. So what we're doing is we're making it, yeah, you could say we have single point, but we really don't. Now we are making it a secure single point.
It's that second level of security.
Second level, exactly. And so these are all the schools we're doing them in, Dunbar, Mariner, every school, Royal Palm, Villas, list goes on. And they're all in different stages. I can speak to how most of mine are. Most of mine, I've got an architect engaged, I have drawings, I have my contractors already. Some of them have given me numbers, some of them haven't, but they're out to bid. So they're all kind of in various states. And during most of them will happen over summer break, because it's kind of hard to do it when you got students and parents coming in that office. You can't really, just shut things down. So you kind of got to wait till that point. I think Tina's got a couple, they're small, she was gonna try to do during the spring break. Let's just wait till summer break, tear it apart and do it. So that's how mine are. All of these are the same. If you look, out to bid, out to bid, out to bid. Design, this is one design, Fort Myers Technical College. Well, when I did this, it was in the design phase, it's not anymore. It's out to bid. The Fort Myers Technical College, if you've ever been there, you have buildings just like this desk, right? With driveways. I gotta make it a single point entry. I can't have people, when people come up to this front door, somebody's gotta stop and talk to them when they're in there. Well, not the way it's set up now, they can drive down this road. So what we decided to do there, instead of putting a big fence up everywhere and fencing it all off, is we put a guard gate and a guard shack out at the very front with an arm. So now, that guard, if you went there now, that guard sits in his chair and he throws peanuts to pigeons all day long. Well, we're relocating that guard shack so that he has to people drive up, and he's gonna look right at you, and he's gonna have data, and a printer, and a radio, and a phone, and he's gonna have to say, okay, who are you here to see? And he'll say, whoever, and he'll take your license, and he'll make a copy, and he'll give you one of those nice little badges, and he'll tell you to go park over in that parking lot right there, and he'll radio for someone to come escort them to where they're gonna go. So we've now taken kind of a college campus feel and not turned it into a prison look, but yet still give it that secured entry. So that's what we did there.
You doing?
I think I'm done. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Any questions?
The single point entry that you're doing, is that completely replacing the Ring doorbell things, or
No,
just
no.
keeping them?
Ring doorbell will still be there, so you ring the doorbell and you let me in, now I come in, all of these pathways are now closed off. So the only and if they're, like, here's your desk, if there was a doorway on the other side of this desk, let's just say not a doorway, let's just say it was an opening to a hallway, I'm not putting a door there. So I'm sad to say, but the person sitting in this chair is the only person that's at risk. of anything happening to them. Even if I get across the counter, I can't go anywhere else.
Like this building.
In the bank, that's
Like
a
in
trap.
terms of the desk. and-
Yeah.
In the banks, it's a trap.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah. So, but that's how this is. We're setting it up so that, I'm sorry for that one person that's there, but even if I get across there, I can't go anywhere else, unless I got a card swipe to get in.
Well, you got hers.
Yeah, but hers may not work everywhere.
I don't know.
Yeah, my badge, it's funny, my badge works at some places it doesn't, it's, you know.
It's 40 years old.
Well, yeah. You got it. That's it.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, you're more than welcome.
Well, thank you for that, much more thorough than the usual updates we get, so it's good to see everything that's really going on.
Okay, well,
I appreciate that.
I'll give you all a little checklist, you can score me. I'll turn it into my boss. No, I won't, because then you'll make me do it all the time.
And Scott, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the quarterly update that y'all give to the board, right? So that's the more full update.
Yeah, I'm not sure, is that it, Julia?
It used to be monthly and it recently changed to quarterly.
So that's why it's a little more detailed, you know, that the board gets every quarter.
Is that so the board can say, we didn't know about the project?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Is that so the board can say they don't know about the project? Is that why they went to quarterly instead of doing it monthly?
That happened before I returned, so I'm not sure why they did that. But they probably just tired of hearing it every month. They're probably tired of hearing it every month.
It's too much.
And some of them don't have that much substantial change.
Well, when they're really abbreviated and you're only hearing about 3 or 4 major projects and not all the little things, what is there to hear every month?
Right, and that's what
They're
they,
still doing it.
yeah, that's what they care about is the longer, the bigger ones and the longer terms, they want the update on those.
You know, it takes 16 months to complete, you can say, we're working every month for 16 months, what does that really accomplish? All right, well, thank you very much for that, Steve, you're off the hook, take a seat. And the committee in general, I think we're kind of light on topics for the rest of the year, so if anyone has anything or would like to present something to the committee, I did want to take a few minutes to kind of wrap up some of the solar discussions. And again, I realized I wasn't here and I see people buckling over, but all I really took away from that is don't put any holes in the roof. And if you want to do it for free, go ahead.
Yeah, that was like a 2-hour meeting last week,
Yeah.
And that was the synopsis.
That was really good. When you, now to clarify even more, when you say no cost to the district,
Means no
No,
cost.
it's the,
no,
You mean zero capital?
no fee from the supplier or the,
okay.
because we hope that the district will work with us on some
Right.
man hours to, you know, with Dan to, some man hours to figure out what the plan is.
Well, I know we agreed to supply the data, so I'm not sure how many man hours outside of that were requested.
Well, something more than zero.
Well, first of all, is all right if I'm good? Okay. So first of all, let's clarify what you mean man hours with your person. Is it, you mean you gotta have somebody come out, let's just take this as a school. So you're gonna have Dan or somebody, whoever that is, come out, and you wanna see where panels and things are and loads, but you need somebody to come with you to show you where those things are located. Is that what you mean by man hours?
Yes,
Okay, so that would be on the maintenance side,
and if they say-
electrician.
okay, well, here's 10 projects. You or Scott might say, that one's no-go, pick another one, you know, that takes a little time to review, takes a little work to figure out the plan. If they just come up with a plan that you guys are not involved in, it's worthless.
Well,
And just from my understanding, what I heard last time was with providing of data, providing of utility data, providing of that information, you would be able to do the analysis and kind of bring us back.
Yes.
And now I'm hearing we need labor hours to
No,
walk you
not-
around.
No, the first thing you said.
Okay, so yeah, I agree, we can 100% do that, provide the data. I think our maintenance director has been in touch and they're gonna provide a checklist of kind of the things that were needed and
So, yes.
I think that we're gonna be going.
so this
from
can be easy, right? I've installed a jillion, I won't say a jillion, that's the wrong number. A
A trillion.
a trillion, right?
Uh-huh.
Solar panels in the district. I did it with FP&L. It was part of a give back plan. And they were all given dashboards. And they sent their science teachers away so they could learn how to read and use these dashboards, and use them in an educational setting.
Yeah.
They were also sent up to the big plant up there by Babcock, so they could see the whole solar field, and all that good stuff. And so there's schools out there that already have 10 and 20 and 5 kW panels. And there are dashboards that can tell you how much they generated 4 years ago on this date, today, how much during the storm, not during the storm. And most of them may work, some of them don't work. We don't have a person that maintains and takes care of them. Mostly they're used as parking garages for the athletic person out at the football field to park his car under on a sunny day, or it's used to sell t-shirts out of while the track team's running around. But that data is there, and Barbara C. was a big person with me in getting this done.
Okay.
So Barbara C. could tell you which school to go to, and I guarantee that science teacher is no longer there, and there will be nobody there that knows how to operate the dashboard.
Yeah.
Barbara C. would, she'd remember.
Yeah.
But, so it's not so much that, you could just take those schools, and they're all over. There's Bonita Middle, South Fort Myers High, there's, oh man, I'm drawing a blank, but I've said a bunch of them.
VPAA.
Veterans Park Academy of the Arts, I think Mariner High School has one. So they're all across the county, they're scattered about throughout the county. And if you could reach in and tap into, and you wouldn't have to be in school.
I think that's in the works.
Yeah.
Dan said to me today that he was in contact with Barbara.
Yeah.
And I assume that's who.
So there's all your raw data right there. Without really having to go to a physical school, other than you wanna see a blueprint of what the roof looks like, so you know how many holes to put.
I think we're
Well, we don't.
generally trying to avoid roofs.
Everyone's gonna twitch.
Yeah.
But the point, that's a little different than what's hitting the sunlight that's hitting the ground there is, where in that campus can they put solar? Where-
Well, you're gonna find that, okay, I'm gonna be the bad guy. You don't have land to put a solar farm at a school, because every piece of land we have at a school is utilized as somebody's playfield, or the county uses it as their soccer field, or.
And Steve, just to hold you out, we had this conversation for 2 hours last night.
Oh, we ain't gonna-
So I just didn't want you to repeat stuff we've already talked about.
Yeah,
right. So I'll stay off the summary, because I see people like, got into twitchy already.
Yeah, you got me for 10 more minutes.
All right, with that, we're actually about 3 minutes away from turning into a pumpkin here, so I think we've done a pretty good job filling the gaps. And again, if anyone has something that they'd like to bring to the committee, or an idea for a topic of discussion on a particular meeting, we'll book some legwork into the subjects if we have some input and some desire. And, send your comments to Julia, she'll kind of funnel them and disperse them to the people that can help best, I believe is the proper way to go about it. So with that, anything for the good of the order?
Just one thing, I think I'd be speaking for Board Member Morgan, in this respect, that, if you hadn't heard, this week we, did vote, our board did vote, and interview and voted on a new superintendent, and they, made their choice. And, they're in the process of kind of negotiating contracts and negotiating how the transition is gonna work. So we're excited to, have them on board and are close to having them on board, and look forward to them getting started.
Thank you.
Here, it might be even before the end of the school year. So we're really excited.
Which one was it? I'm sorry.
Mr. Bernier, I can't think of the first name.
I could just see his face.
The one
from Vegas.
Yes, he's currently the chief of staff of the superintendent in Vegas. One of the fifth largest school districts in the nation. And he was previously the associate superintendent in Orange County for like several years. So does have some Florida ties there.
Yeah, we got to meet them on Sunday for the section.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the two finalists were so diametrically opposed personality-wise. I mean, I'm sure the resumes lined up real well,
Yeah,
but they couldn't have been more different.
different, yeah.
They really couldn't have, but
Yeah.
interesting.
So, excited to again have a new leader, maybe a new direction, so everybody just anxiously waiting.
I think it's good that it got done as quickly as it did. I mean, it was not, cause it was one of those like could drag on and
Yeah.
that was great, so.
All right, to finish with the order, Ms. Milburn? No?
No. Sorry.
Mr. Rich has been suspiciously quiet today.
Very quiet, very quiet. He's been absorbing all of my talking points. It's taking a minute.
Last words. Bob?
I gotta go.
Got it.
That's the best way.
Mr. Topher,
Nothing, thank you.
moving down the line, you know who you are next. Anybody else? So with that, can we get a vote for adjournment? Made by Dana, seconded by, I'm sorry, I heard it, I didn't see it. Mr. Ward. Sorry, Jackie.
It's okay, I'll do it next week.
Are you gonna sign for me when we
I was running, I honestly didn't know what I was running.